The next item, the presence of lead in the water supply throughout the country, particularly in areas of Dublin Bay North, and funding available. Deputies Terence, Flanagan and Barry Cowan have raised this issue, so deputies have 4 minutes in total to make an initial statement.
Thanks very much, Laskin Corley, and I just thank Minister Paudie Coffey for his presence here to deal with the issue. And like many of my constituents in Dublin Bay North, I have major concerns, obviously, about the presence of lead in the water supply and the worry that's causing a lot of constituents, many of who are concerned about the negative effects that lead in the water could have on their health, and particularly the fact that consumption of lead can affect brain development, particularly in young children, and babies in the womb are most at risk, according to the HSE and the Environmental Protection Agency. So it is an issue that's been raised quite frequently on the doorsteps in Dublin Bay North. And we know that lead is a material that was predominantly used in service connections to building and in internal plumbing up to the 1970s. And the limit, like the amount of micrograms per litre, has reduced from 50 micrograms per litre in 2003 down to 10 micrograms per litre in December 2013. And really, it is extremely unfair, Minister, that we're asking householders to pay water charges when they're actually getting the advice that the water, firstly, it's not fit for consumption, and they're advised to run their tap for a significant length of time to flush out their supply as well before consumption. So I think it's something that the government really need to look at when it comes to charging people who find themselves in this unfortunate situation. And some households in Raheny and in Clontarf in particular have lead readings far above the EU limit, and on one household on Watermill Drive, it was 825 micrograms per litre, which is opposed to the limit of 10 micrograms per litre. So it's massively way over the limits in that particular case. And people are quite rightly concerned about their own health, about their children's health, and they want something, I suppose, urgently dealt with this by government. And St Anne's Estate in Dublin Bay North is in a state where the committee have actually contacted the Minister. They've sought a meeting. They're doing everything, obviously, to help the local residents, and perhaps the Minister would see it fit to actually meet with those particular residents who seem to have the highest level of lead in their piping.
Come back, Deputy Brian.
Thank you, Laskin Corley, and first of all I want to thank both deputies for the opportunity to outline the position in relation to this matter, which I am taking on behalf of Minister Kelly. With effect from the 1st of January 2014, Irish Water is responsible for public water services under the European Union Drinking Water Regulations 2014, a copy of which is available in the Oireachtas Library. Suppliers of drinking water are required to ensure that the water supply complies with the chemical and microbiological parameters set out in the regulations. The maximum allowable value for lead is 10 micrograms per litre, which came into effect in December 2013. The Environmental Protection Agency is the supervisory authority with responsibility for monitoring Irish Water's compliance with the drinking water regulations. In the event of non-compliance with the quality standards set out in the regulations, the water supplier will investigate the cause in consultation with the EPA, and if a potential risk to human health exists, with the Health Service Executive, to ensure that the appropriate remedial action is taken. A case-by-case approach will be considered by Irish Water, in line with its statutory responsibilities and in recognition of the statutory responsibilities of the HSE and the EPA. I understand that lead exceedances in the Dublin Bay North constituency have been reported to the EPA, arising from samples taken at individual private dwellings. The EPA has indicated to my department that in each case its investigations have concluded that the appropriate actions were taken and advice was given to the householders concerned. No water restriction has issued under the drinking water regulations to consumers in either of the areas in question. Irish Water has informed my department that, having over recent months replaced the approximately 2 kilometres of water mains which contained lead, no part of its estimated 60,000 kilometres of distribution system now contains lead. However, there are a significant number of lead public service pipes between the water mains and the customer stopcock or water meter. Irish Water is identifying the location of such lead service connections during the meter installation programme. The numbers currently being identified are about 5% of houses, but this is expected to be higher in town centre areas. Irish Water also estimates that there may be further 30,000 to 40,000 houses with shared lead backyard service connections. Irish Water has informed my department that it intends to invest in public lead pipe replacement schemes, primarily service pipes including shared backyard service connections, over the next 10 years. Irish Water is also reviewing its water treatment processes to ensure that they can mitigate the risk in the short term. In line with the provisions of the Water Services Act 2007, responsibility for the maintenance and replacement of the water mains and the public side service pipes to the boundary of the property lies with Irish Water or the water supplier, while the owner of a premises is responsible for the maintenance from the boundary, including the internal plumbing. Last week, the Government approved a national strategy to reduce exposure to lead in drinking water. The strategy was prepared by my department in consultation with the Department of Health, Irish Water, the HSE and the EPA, in order to assess the scale of the problem and identify measures to mitigate any risks to human health posed by lead in drinking water. Minister Kelly will announce details of a grant scheme to assist low-income households with the replacement of lead pipes in their homes, following consultation with the Minister for Public Expenditure and Reform. And he expects that householders will be able to avail of the grants later this year.
Deputy Terence Flanagan.
For his response, and just again to reiterate, obviously, Minister, that it is a real and concerning issue for families, particularly those with young children who find themselves in this situation. They're very concerned about the drinking water that's coming into their homes, and they really, really need help in an urgent manner. And there was a group there that contacted the Minister back in January in St Anne's Estate, a committee that was set up in order to, I suppose, provide more information to householders regarding the situation, and they were wondering, would it be possible for an alternative water supply to be provided to their area until their new pipes are installed, and can all the water be tested down in their particular area? And that was the area, obviously, that had the highest level of reading of the 825 micrograms per litre. So can the Minister meet with the committee from St Anne's Estate in relation to, I suppose, setting their minds at ease? And they did also send in a petition just to say that. But it is a substantial cost. I mean, you're talking €5,000 to replace pipework here, and not every family has that. Now, I do very much welcome the grant scheme being brought forward, but there is a cap and income limit of $75,000 per household, so not every household is going to qualify, unfortunately, in that regard. And even if Irish Water, and I do accept that they're looking to bring about change and eliminating lead pipes over a 10-year period, but if a householder actually goes out there tomorrow and changes their own pipes, they're still caught on the public side, because that public side might not be done for up to 10 years. So just to ask, Minister, can you give a bit more reassurance there to those householders concerned?
Thank you, Las Cahill. And first of all, can I say, and not getting into political point scoring across the department, but across the House, but this is another legacy issue that we've had to deal with. These lead pipes have been in existence for generations, and unfortunately, this level of investigation, I suppose, to identify the lead pipes hasn't been brought to the fore in such a public way before, which is a great pity indeed. And, I think it's now being dealt with, and I'm sure deputies opposite, and indeed any deputy, would welcome the fact that the Minister has given a commitment that he will introduce a grant scheme for low-income households to replace lead piping as it's found. With effect from the 1st of January 2014, Irish Water has statutory responsibility for all aspects of public water services planning, delivery and operation at national, regional and local levels, including the delivery of the water services capital infrastructure. Irish Water has indicated that their records show there is no lead water mains in the system. Therefore, the drinking water leaving treatment plants and distributed through the public water mains meets the requirements of the drinking water regulations in relation to lead. As part of its metering programme, Irish Water has identified significant numbers of lead service connections between the public mains and the customer stopcock and water meter, and Irish Water is committed to replacing these over time. In the case of privately owned premises, the property owners are responsible for maintaining the internal plumbing. In a joint position paper on lead published by the EPA and the HSE in 2013, it is recommended that all lead pipes and plumbing in public and private ownership should be replaced over time. And the Water Services Act 2707 provides that the owner of a premises is responsible for the maintenance and renewal of the internal water distribution system. A key objective of the national strategy that I refer to will be to raise public awareness of potential public health issues arising from the risk of lead in drinking water. And as part of the strategy, I will be establishing a new grant scheme to assist low-income households to replace the lead pipes in their home. The scheme will be administered by local authorities and in line with drinking water regulations. The available resources will be prioritised to the areas of highest risk. I think that's only fair. Funding for this measure in 2016 will be finalised in the context of the coming budget as well.
Thank you.